Hawaii has been a gracious host. This is not how you treat people who have given you and shown you aloha. Has it ever been tossed on the table that we should have a lease negotiation versus condemnation?
That was Representative Jill Tokuda recently grilling Army Secretary Dan Driscoll during a House Armed Services Committee hearing about military lands in Hawaii now under negotiations. One of the many topics in the news that we want to discuss with her, and because of that, she's joining us right now on set here on Good Morning Hawaii. Representative Jill Tokuda, thank you so much. I know you are a very, very busy person.
Thank you for having me.
So yeah, we appreciate you being here. Let's go start off right off the top. You talked about, we saw that exchange right now. Why is it so important? And many who aren't familiar with military land leases here in Hawaii, what's really at stake for Hawaii with Pohakuloa?
Well, what's at stake and what I've been grilling everyone from, Secretary Driscoll to anyone who's come before us is take eminent domain, take condemnation, the stealing of stolen land off the table. The leases come up in 2029. We have well over 38 more months before they expire. Let's explore every option on the table right now that would ensure that these lands will stay in Hawaii's hands, that will leave it to the next generation of Native Hawaiians to be able to determine the sovereignty and autonomy of these lands. If you condemn it, if you just take that land, like so much of the land in Hawaii was taken during the illegal overthrow and annexation, you're not going to give the ability for the next generation to decide what happens here. And so for me, that's what this has all been about. Let's have real negotiations. Let's talk about another lease. Let's talk about what land can be given back, what they can do to be better neighbors. And I'm going to continue to hold them to that.
Yeah, and Hawaii politics has really been put on the map, Citizens United, with what's happening across that. But also here in general, this can really be precedent for other places. But it is so important here in Hawaii when you talk about stolen lands, when you talk about eminent domain and just the occupation of sorts. You use the phrase bully tactics, and I want to kind of hone in on that when questioning the Army Secretary. Why did you feel it was so important to use verbiage like that to get the point across?
Because being polite is really not going to be making the case. And there's nothing polite about what they are doing to us. When you consider the fact that they've talked about friendly condemnation, there's nothing friendly about taking the land. It's a gun on the table that needs to be essentially removed so we can have a real discussion. Let's have an honest discussion about the military's relationship with Hawaii. In Hawaii and across the country, national security has been used as the excuse, no more. And what happens in Hawaii affects every other state, every other tribe, every other Alaska Native, and they have to understand that. And so that's why this discussion is so critically important. And we go into the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA negotiations next week in the House. And I want to make sure that, first of all, there is zero language in there that would give authorization for condemnation or eminent domain to be used at Pohakuloa. But also, we should be making it very clear, no condemnation at all. And let's talk about options that give the next generation here in Hawaii the ability to say what happens with this land.
I think that's what people appreciate in your constituents, is that you've been very clear and concise with the messaging and how you defend Hawaii and the lands that are so important to us here at home. I want to move, you mentioned about just what's happening over in the Middle East, with U.S. forces conducting recent strikes in the Strait of Hormuz, the ceasefire on, ceasefire off. They claim the White House claims a peace deal is close in Doha. What do you read into that strategy right now?
We have no details. We have conflicting reports coming out of Iran. Bottom line is people right here at home are suffering. When I left Kaneohe, it was $5.89 for just regular gas. It's over $6 in some parts of our state. This is absolutely unacceptable. It's not only causing pain at the pump. This is not peanuts. Trump called this peanuts the other week. This is pain at the pump. It's causing grocery prices to go up. It's impacting air flight transportation, the cost for air travel, which hurts Kama'aina, and it hurts the visitors, and limits the visitors that can come to Hawaii. So bottom line, we've got to reopen the straits. We've got to start seeing gas prices go down. This was a unilateral war that Trump started. We're even fighting to get a vote in Congress on the war powers resolution to say, no, this is actually Congress's kuleana. We need to embrace this. We never had any even debate or discussion on this issue. But I do think next week we could be very close in both the House and the Senate to getting finally that debate about how, at the end of the day, this is not good for Americans, and think of the $1 billion a day we're spending on this war, what we could do with it right here at home to help struggling Americans.
Yeah, it is too. It's true, so true here because we can't go. Our state is split up between islands, so we need to travel through obviously the airlines, and that is hurting jet fuel prices as well. That then gets passed down to consumers.
Absolutely.
So I love what you said about how it affects us specifically here. I want to kind of move to the Native Hawaiian Education Program. You fought to preserve $46 million in funding for Native Hawaiian education programs. What would Hawaii have lost if that funding disappeared?
You know, I visited different programs across the state that rely on these Native Hawaiian education program fundings. Tutu and Me programs that strengthen families, give our youngest keiki, an opportunity to learn, grow, be prepared for kindergarten. Jobs for our communities. People that have literally cried to me saying this has given them both meaning and an occupation and a way to pay their own bills, scholarship opportunities so that we can actually grow our own when it comes to Native Hawaiian educators and teachers. It's more than just dollars. It's the opportunity that we're creating right here in Hawaii to make sure we take care of our families, we strengthen our communities, we provide good jobs right here at home. And the bottom line is we know this is not just an attack on Native Hawaiian education funding or housing funding or health funding, and they're attacking it all. It really is trying to undercut the fact that Native Hawaiians are not a racial group like they stated. They are in fact an indigenous people, and we have a trust, responsibility, and obligation to support our Native Hawaiian communities.
Representative Jill Tokuda, we have about 10 seconds left. What's on the ledger? What's on the schedule coming up in Washington?
Well, we're going to be taking that War Powers resolution up. They've actually canceled, they're thinking about canceling votes because we know that I do think passage is imminent.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're busy. We appreciate all your time and all your efforts here defending our people here in Hawaii and fighting the good fight up there in D.C.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Jill.